John, can you just make us aware of some of the challenges, airtightness challenges that you would have in a retrofit?
When it comes to retrofit, we're looking at a bit of a different world when it comes to airtightness. We still need to achieve, where possible, the same amount of airtightness as you would do within a new build. But it does show up a few more challenges. However, a good thought process and a good material for the job would do it. You can use the same membranes where you can tape around and two joists and two steel and whatever's there. So you can still get a really good seal. But sometimes uneven surfaces may require a different type of airtightness. Now, quite often we will use a liquid airtightness membrane. In other words, it's like a specialized rubberized paint with fibers in. Passive purple, so do one. There's a number of different products out there that can be painted or sprayed on for an airtightness. And when dry, you can still tape to them with the membrane as well. So you can use a combination of different materials and different products. You've just got to use them in the way described and shown by the manufacturers. There's no reason you can't use more than one product. It's just got to be the right product to compensate or attach to that other product that you're using. Passive purple or something like that's really good because a number of tapes will stick to it. Retrofit. Also, we've got your replace windows and doors. Usually, that will increase and better your airtightness. And also, other things you've got to look at is we talked about drafts and how draft will take your heat, your energy out of the property to which you're in. So, testing, test and test and test. So, when it comes to a product and air testing, at some point in time, there will always be an air test. That takes shape in a frame which would go into a doorway. And in that frame, there will be a motor, a fan. And that fan will pump air into a build or take the air out, whichever one it was needed at the time. Normally, when you go for passive certification, they do both. So they would suck the air out of the building and you watch all the membranes and everything pull in like a balloon as the air comes in from the outside. And what they do is they then seal it off and measure the amount of volume or air that is exchanged over a given amount of time. And then once that's completed, they'll pump air in and they'll do the same again. And they'll monitor and measure the amount of air volume lost or gained over those periods of time, depending on what test they're doing. And they will take those two, and average of those two figures will give you your air exchange per hour. And for normal house, if you were doing traditional build, is 10. When we go for passive house or passive certification, we go to 0.6. It's a scary figure when we talk about that smaller amount of figure. But if attention is just paid to the detail and you use the correct products in the correct way, it is achievable, and it's achievable every time.
So we mentioned a figure there of 10 air changes per hour. I know that we've had examples of homes where they have a 20 air changes per hour. This is, some of the reasons for that is the fact that the quality of building has gone up over the last number of decades. Have you experienced any extreme examples, or, what sort of air changes have you seen?
We have seen over the years a number of retrofits, which would be very difficult to come up to the air standard that we need, the air pressure standard. And that's simply because of the construction method at the time. At the time, it was good. It's just modern day, we don't want that quality. We want whole new quality today. because our way of life and the way we view what we need to achieve has changed. So, yes, you can have 20 air chambers an hour, you're nothing like we need to be. But what we can do is we can take the principles and within that retrofit, and we can improve that. And everything we do will improve that air exchange. And so there's nothing to be scared of. It is something which can be controlled. You just have to think about it and put it in the process, in the design, and take each individual junction as an individual solution, and you will get there.
On the topic of air tightness and values, I know that the Retrofit standard, they aim for 1 air change per hour, and this ties in with the conversation that we're having here. AECB, they have I think it's a standard of 2 air changes per hour. They're considering reviewing that to be able to make that more appropriate for different types of builds, just like you're talking about. So yeah, that ties in as well with a point I want to raise, just about quality assurance and just making sure that we're sort of overseeing the details. And have you experienced in the past where maybe the quality has not been to the standard that you want it, and how do we address that? You know, how important is quality assurance?
Okay, standard of quality and how we test and how we ensure it does what it does. Now, we've spoken about retrofit. Now, we can only do the best we can with a given product. With a brand new build, we can get the airtightness to point by design. When you're dealing with a retrofit, there has to be some lenience. There has to be some form of different appreciation of the air, because you can't make 100% airtight box out of an existing build. We have to have some form or some way to allow for that. So when we say a new build is at 0.6 airtightness, we can achieve that, and we can achieve it every time. Retrofit, not so much. We have to come up to a standard. We don't have a standard of yet to where we want to come for retrofit. I would like to see 1.5, but if it's to 2 and that becomes standard, at least we've got a standard to go to. So this is where the difficulty comes with retrofit. There hasn't been enough done yet to have consistent amount of results. I've worked on many retrofits around the country at different sizes and shapes. We've achieved some very good values, but there are other properties out there which are going to be more difficult to airtight. So therefore, we have to make allowances for that. You can only do the best job that you can with the environment or product that you're working with. So a lenience has to be allowed for when it comes to an existing property.
Yeah, agreed. And so that ties in a little bit with this idea of cost versus benefit. You know, you maybe you could get things to 1 air change per hour, but it'd cost you an extremely large amount of money. So yeah, just want to draw back to something you mentioned about the airtightness tape and the curing, and just how important it is to make sure that we treat it carefully, because, you know, from a health and safety point of view, you know, if you got out of somebody's skin and then left it for a period of time, just how important is that?
That is an important question. Health and safety, and what comes into preventing damage to people and properties by the materials that we use. The Tescon tape and other tapes, they cure over time. This is why we make a point of using it in the correct way with the correct materials. For example, if you were to put a piece of Tescon tape onto a person and that was there for any extended amount of time, that would cure and get stronger and potentially do damage to that person. So therefore, we don't. We use all products for what they're designed for, and they're designed for purpose.
Great stuff. Just talking about the quality assurance and just some of the details of how to apply the tape. I know that we're going to do some practical, but just talk about how important that is.
The importance of tape. When we've got our membrane, there could be creases, there could be corners where there will be corners to which we've got to be able to tape and learn how to bring them in without creating shoals, if you like, tubes that aren't taped to bring air in, how we would stretch the membrane to push the tape in. When it folds up again, we know it's airtight. So we use the tape in a very formal way, in a very disciplined way. This is where your attention to detail comes in. If there's a crease, you would smooth the crease out and tape within that crease. If there's an area where the two membranes don't meet because it's in the corner and one's tight and the other one isn't, then therefore you would need to take that into consideration. What would you do to achieve air tightness at that point? This is where your detail comes in. And there are ways of dealing with that. Normally, it's actually to split the air tightness and then repair it, because that way you have a better way of being able to stick that together rather than having a floating tape in the corner. There are various ways, but this only comes with experience by actually doing the job.
Great stuff. Just talking about air tightness and types of products, and we've mentioned Tescon and Intello and Passive Purple. What other sort of, I'm going to say, traditional products do actually create some level of air tightness, just to sort of detail that a little bit?
What existing products, ones that we've been using for many years, can create some form of air tightness? Visclenes, polythenes, anything that will create a barrier towards damp or moisture will usually create a good air tightness as well. And there are tapes you can use for standard visclenes. And there are also various paints such as bitumen paint, that type of thing, and paints you use for repairing roofs and tar products. These are actually really good air tightness as well. So we use the designed air tightness materials to achieve air tightness, but in a retrofit or other products that may be there, we can still get an air tightness detail by existing products such as visclene, polythenes and tar or oil based products, which we like to avoid, but they can be used.
Yeah, so in terms of selecting materials for people, we know that there are certain products that are Passivhaus approved, so that's always a good place to be able to go and understand the quality of a product. I don't know whether you want to talk a little bit about that and the importance of that.
Yeah, the materials. When it comes to using the materials in Passivhaus or getting to Passivhaus standards, there are many, many materials out there. Research it, because one product might not be suitable for your particular project as another one may be. So research your products. Most of the products used in Passivhaus today have been used for a period of time and have a track record. Usually the good track records are the ones to which we would go for. Don't dismiss new products. They have to be trialed at some point. New products are how we improve and increase our standards of what we do. But for standard or your usual build, go for tried and tested products with a good history.
That's good advice. Is to go with the tried and tested products. And what we have seen is over the last few years, it seems like there's a lot of new products coming onto the market. I think the interest in building to a Passivhaus standard really has increased. And do you want to speak to that in terms of the amount of products that you see coming onto the market and the change that you're seeing?
Yeah, products for what we use. there's new stuff coming on the market all the time. Retrofits is increasing, passive house is increasing, zero carbon's increasing. This is the path of construction industry now. This is the path the whole industry is going down. And those who don't go down this path, they're going to be left behind, because the future of construction is in energy efficiency, zero carbons, to eliminate fuel poverty and the damage to which we're doing to this planet. So the process of this natural process of moving to this advanced way of building, this better way of building, we need new products. We have good existing products with a good track record going back 80, 90 years. But some of these products are still really used today. But there are new stuff coming on the market all the time. Research it. If there's a new product you think might be suitable for you, research. Look at it. Even ask for samples from the manufacturers. Sometimes you can get samples because most of these materials are quite expensive. If they don't work for you, they cost you money. So if you can get a small sample for a small amount of money and you like the product, then you can look at investing more money into get that particular product. But don't dismiss the new products coming in. Study them.